Welcome to Created by Design. Today I have my sister with me again. This is Donna James, and I've asked her to show one of her journaling projects of actually making the journal book. And I'm going to hold it up here for just a second and give you just a little idea about what it is that she's going to talk about. It is amazing what she has used to make this book out of, and she's gonna talk to us in detail about that. I'm assuming you enjoyed making this project.
Oh, yes.
And you've made several of them now.
Yes, I made one for myself. Yeah.
That's always good, because usually we end up giving away.
Basically just like this one, but different theme.
Okay. And often you give away a lot of the things
I have.
Yeah, I don't have many hats anymore because I've given most of the knitted hats away. So that's half of the fun of making projects, to share them with people. Tell me about this book. Where did you get the idea? What are some of the materials that you used to make it?
Okay, I watched a YouTube video by Carol Tinson, and she made a book very similar to this. And I think, if I remember correctly, it was called the Love Letters Journal. And
we'll post that information on screen.
And so she started with a cereal box.
Of like breakfast cereal.
Yes, breakfast cereal. So that's what I did. And it's already folded for you. And this is what the width of the side was. So those two folds were already there. And then I cut it to the dimensions that I wanted. And I decided on a theme. And with this one, I had birds. And so I just used that. I went through all of my papers and pulled out everything related to birds. Now, I didn't use everything related to birds in here, but I did use a lot of them.
So the theme carries over someplace on every section about birds.
Every section.
Okay.
And I made this specifically with my sister Linda in mind.
Oh.
Because I thought, gee, this is a good place to store in each one of these envelopes. And I did make all of the envelopes, either knitting ideas or patterns or something else that she would like to put in here.
As you see, it's empty. I haven't actually used it yet.
That. And then I put little tags in here. This is a little tag, and she could write on it what's in here if she wanted to. This one has some note tags that are in here. This one has a book.
Oh, let's look at that book.
And this book I actually made a long time ago.
Okay, so it's sewn together.
It is.
And you've got graph paper in it. And
all kinds of paper.
All kinds of paper. Okay, so this is where you've actually sewn it and
left the tags, and I put little beads on the bottom.
So how cute is that? Very cute. So tell us about how you came up with some of these papers then.
Well, this paper, like I said, this was paper. This was a book, and I had done kits of these books for some other project a number of years ago, and I still had several books. And so this paper just happened to fit the paper that's in here. Some of these papers I had already, and some of them I bought online from Carol Tinson's site, and those you download on your computer, and then you can print them on cardstock. You should use a quality paper versus just regular
photo paper. And Carol Tinson, we're going to post her information, but you watch her YouTubes.
Yes.
Okay.
And she has very excellent learning YouTubes. She's a very good teacher. She's kind of quirky, but
but fun to watch.
But yeah.
And so on the cover here, you've actually used little metal corners.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think she used those on there, and that gave me the idea. And I had these metal corners, and so I thought, oh, I'll just put them on here.
So tell us about this piece here, this stripping.
This strip is actually goes from here clear over to here.
Okay.
And it basically covers up the center of this book, and this particular one, the center would have been fine. It doesn't. It's just flat. But it just kind of gives a background, and it reinforces the folded area.
So there's a design cut out in this. How did
punch.
you have
There's
a paper
an
punch?
edge punch.
Okay.
That you can get. And they have various designs. This happened to be one that I had, and so I thought, oh, that'll work there. And then I had a piece of paper. One of my papers had this on it. I actually put the bird on there. That's a sticker.
Okay.
And I left this blank because then I thought Linda could title it anything she wanted to.
Which I haven't done yet.
There is a blank on the front.
So this is an add-on piece of paper
here.
here.
Piece, and so is this.
Okay. Okay. So let's look at some of these other pages in here. Back to the envelopes. Let's talk about the envelopes. Where did you get those?
Well, I made them.
Okay.
And there is a tool that you can get to make them with. Some of these envelopes are folded like this. Some of these are just
pockets.
A pocket.
Okay.
That you can get into. This one doesn't have anything in it because I figured she could put something
right.
in it.
So you brought your little tool. We're going to look at that in a minute, and we'll finish looking at the book for a second.
All of these are, I cut some of them I cut the edge off. Some of them I left the point.
Now, is this paper you had?
Yes.
So you purchased it?
I just had it. It was not purchased for this book.
But it was like you got it in a packet of paper. Okay.
Yes. And so then when I glued this on, I glued it on the sides only so I could tuck that in.
Clever. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then these pages are all put together with paper. So I took a strip of paper, this wide, and I edge punched the edge, and then put glue on it all the way and glued it onto this edge. Well,
so what kind of glue do you
craft glue.
Do you use Yes glue? Is that one?
I use Yes, but not for this.
Okay.
I use Yes on a lot of pages.
You use something more than Elmer's?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
More of a paper particular.
And Carol Tinson has a video on YouTube on glues.
Okay.
And what kind she uses and what she uses them for. So that's a really good one to
resource
watch.
To look.
So it's what I did for these pages is I measured the back of the book here, and then I figured I wanted about 1/4 of an inch in between each one of the envelopes, so you could put something in them, and then this wouldn't get too fat.
Right, right.
Because that's something that you have to be concerned about. So it's approximately 1/4 of an inch.
Okay. So
that's what the glue is on, to glue it to the back of this book.
The breakfast cereal box.
Okay. So you have to have a pretty sturdy glue with a lot of stick to it.
Okay.
And then another thing that you can use is in here, I don't know if you can see this, but it almost disappears. So
let's lift it up so it can be seen in
this tape.
Yes.
This is just that
surgical tape.
paper tape.
I've heard of that
and
being
it's
used.
By 3M, and it does almost disappear in there. It sticks better than washi tape. And so that's why it's used in a situation like this, just to give some strength to this pocket because the pocket only has the center glued to one side of it.
Okay. So when you make a project like this, do you plan out each page and then go back and assemble it, or do you do a couple pages and then kind of work on what you want the next ones?
I do all the pages before I assemble them into the book.
So you lay out all your pieces for each page and then assemble.
And I usually will make all the envelopes first, and then I'll start with one, and I won't necessarily complete it. And I'll find another page as I'm going through my papers and think, oh, this will look good on here. I'll glue it on here. I'll go back through and maybe work on several pages.
Add something to
it. Keep going back and forth and adding to them.
But you've had a plan. You know you're designing. That's our created by design.
Yes.
So you do have a design either in your head or at least you've laid it out physically, so you know kind of where you're going next with it.
And so then each page I just kind of, oh, I think this would look good here.
Right.
And I don't necessarily plan the book out ahead of time. And I don't even plan when I glue this corner pocket on what I'm going to put on it.
Okay.
I will do the corner pocket, and then as I'm going through my papers, I'll think, oh, that will look nice on the corner pocket. So then I'll maybe go lay it in here,
right,
and leave it there for a while before I glue it on to make sure that that's what I want to put there.
So all of your edges are really finished off nice. What do you do to all your cut edges? Ink?
Stamp, ink, and
so it's like a dauber or something.
A dauber type. And then you just go like this over all your edges.
On all cut edges, both sides you've done that. Okay.
Yes, because it just gives a finished look.
So you don't have any white cut edges showing at all.
Don't. And
gives it kind of an antique-y look to it also.
Yeah. And it just makes it look nicer.
Very finished. Yeah.
So I do that on, I did it around here. I didn't do it around this hand.
Yeah, so very interesting. So this is all printed onto the paper here, but up here, this is actually an added cut piece. So there's a lot of layering that happens.
Oh, yes. And these are stickers, actually.
Okay.
That's a sticker that I have.
So like when you go to the craft store and you see that whole section of stickers, that's what you're...
And then here's another little book that I had made for some other project, and I hadn't used it, and I thought, oh, it'll look nice here. This is a napkin that's been separated and glued onto that. And then you put glue over it, let it dry, and then I've added this bird was part of the napkin. I added this.
The frame around it.
Yeah.
Cool. And so then on this little tag, you've got ribbon on it.
And that ribbon is seam binding.
Oh, seam binding. Oh, my goodness.
And you use seam binding a lot. I went through all my sewing stuff, pulled out all my seam binding, and put it in here.
That's great.
Yeah. And then this little book is one, and it's got various pages in it. You look, and this is a little
napkin.
A napkin that I have gone over with a stamp to just color it, and then it's got
makes a little pocket.
Little pockets.
Very, very clever. It's almost too pretty to write in. I've looked at it, and I've gone through it a number of times. I have not written on it yet. I will.
This is a little pocket envelope, and this was some printed paper that I got. Actually, I didn't get the paper. I got this online and downloaded it and then printed it.
So you printed it?
I printed it.
Yes.
But it was I purchased the printing.
Right.
And then these are things, I have a punch that will punch this.
The shape of that. Beautiful. How fun. So here again, as much as a person wants to let their imagination run, this could be done for any kind of a theme.
Yes.
It could be done for a birthday. It could be done on a sports theme. So you don't have to go out and buy an expensive album to work. You can take a cereal box and any size cereal box.
Yes.
So you're not really limited to size. So lots and lots of options with making this. What was your least favorite part of doing on this book?
Oh, probably gluing these pages in.
Okay. Yeah, gluing. Because you have to sit and wait for it to dry.
I don't mind doing that, but this was, you really had to be particular on how you did this in order to get the pages to really be supported. One thing that I do, that Carol Tinson taught me to do, was inside of here, before you glue this part in, you take what's it called? You have some mailing envelopes that are in it. Tyvek.
Oh yes, okay.
Tyvek strips, and glue that in there because it accepts the glue. It's very supportive. It gives
reinforces
support and reinforces that. And
so is that the whole cover, just
you
this
just
section?
Put a strip right in
where you're
here.
going to glue for the spine,
So it supports, gives more support to the bend in the fold because it comes over to about here.
So those are some things that you want to think about before you actually start putting something together. You want to think about the strengthening of certain parts of the book. I love the fact that these pages turn independently. They're not all glued together tight, because you can add, I could put yarn samples in here. There's enough room to actually even do knitted samples if I wanted to.
Or you could put, I made one related to sewing, and that's what I put in mine is, I see a picture in a book or a magazine that that would be a nice idea to use. And so I put that in the envelopes, and I kind of sorted it. One's is related to quilting, another one's related to embroidery. So
interesting.
I have put tabs on my envelopes.
Right. So a question, once you start having a project like this to start running through your mind before you ever get actually started ready to sit down and glue, do you start accumulating things?
I do.
How do you organize that and store that?
I found that I was very unorganized, and I was getting out, I would have piles of stuff that I was going through. And so then I started organizing, and I found these bags on Amazon. And so I thought, gee, while I have all of these things out, I might as well start putting them in bags. And so this particular bag is all related to bugs.
Okay.
So every time I found something related to bugs, I stuck it in here. So now if I want to make something that's related to butterflies or bugs in general or whatever, I could take just this and have it be all that I need.
Well, I would think that would make starting a project a lot more fun than when you just, and we've all done it, we've had a box that we've just got one, all of our cut pieces in, and then you go through that how many times until you get frustrated. So this would make starting a project a lot more focused, for one thing, and easier to actually develop a theme. So you've got not newspapers, but magazines and paper you've printed, things you've seen out of other pieces of paper. So that's a terrific idea.
I even saved some calendar stuff that I found.
Calendars are great.
These calendars were really
beautiful.
Had beautiful pictures on them. And so I thought, that would make nice pages, backgrounds, covers, or whatever.
Perfect. So then you're going to show us a little bit about how you make the envelopes. How do you come up with such great edges and folds, and what kind of paper you might consider making envelopes out of?
There's various papers that you make envelopes out of. Most of the printed paper that you get has kind of a hard surface. And so when it's folded, it has a tendency to want to crack.
Okay.
And I don't know if you can see that, how this is cracked
Right
along here. And I could cover that up with the dauber and
camouflage it
a bit. But one of the tips is if you crease this on both sides first.
A little bit.
Okay. And then fold it. Sometimes it stretches that enough that it won't
You don't
crack.
get the cracking.
So this is what an envelope looks like when it's ready to put together, and it folds all
nicely
like this, and it all fits.
And this little tool right here does that.
This little tool does that. So you can, the little tool gives you a paper size, and you can pick your paper size, and then it tells you
the settings.
Here, the settings to use. And so if I don't remember what size this is, 5 inches. So this one that's 5 inches here, it tells me to put this on the score line of 2.
Okay.
So that's the score line of 2. And so then you take your tool and you follow this line.
So there's a little groove right here in
right
that.
Here.
Okay. And you're not pressing super hard.
No, you don't, because that will definitely make it crack. And then you cut the corner out.
So you're just pushing this part down, and then you get your cut.
And then you get your cut. And so then your next cut,
which probably wasn't set quite right, but that's okay. Well, maybe it was. I see it's off. Got it.
And so then you put this here, and you line it up, this line with that. You can cut your, and do the same thing again.
Okay. What a slick little.
And then you turn it. Do the same thing again. Cut your line. And
clever.
And then the same thing here. You line your line up. And now you can see where back to where we started. And then you can go here and round off your corners.
Well, if you were going to make very many envelopes at all, this would be this little tool one would want to invest.
To fold it.
Perfect. And now this is where you do a gentle fold.
Yes.
Both sides so you don't crack the paper.
Actually, if you folded it this way, where you, instead of folding it in on where you creased it, you fold it out.
Okay.
You're not nearly as apt to crack
it.
So
and just some papers crack, some don't as much.
Then you have, and I would probably cut this tip off here. And then you have a little envelope.
Well, isn't that sweet? I love that. Who knew? And so really you could make all kinds of shapes and use these envelopes for things other than even in a gift. I mean you could put little sachets in here and
you could do
all kinds of fun things.
And if you scored this twice, you know, out here and out here, they would give you a little depth to it, and then you could put things in it.
So a great little tool to have with paperwork. She's going to show us now the paper cutter that she uses. We talked earlier, Donna and I were, about the fact that there's a big difference in paper cutters, and there's a reason, especially if you're doing paper crafting like she is doing, that you need really precision cuts.
Yes, you do. And this paper cutter is a smaller one. You can get a larger one. This one opens up here, and it will accommodate a 12-inch piece of paper. And then this is fairly narrow. You can get one that this part is wider. Okay, then say you're wanting to cut on a line that you've already have on a piece of paper, and it's very difficult to line it up. Well, this paper cutter, and I don't know if you can see it in here, it has a wire.
Yeah, it probably doesn't show up very well.
It probably doesn't show up, but there's a wire.
A very fine little wire.
Yes, and you can line up that wire right on your line.
On your mark.
And then when you cut with this, it cuts right on that line.
And having that fine detail makes all the difference in your quality and quality of work, because you can cut an envelope out by hand with scissors.
Oh yeah.
But you're not going to get the precision and accuracy, consistency.
That's true.
So sometimes investing in a few simple pieces of equipment, and this probably wasn't ghastly expensive.
No, I think it was maybe $20.
Yeah, and your paper, your envelope,
15, 19, something like that. I don't remember.
So it's not like you have to go out and buy a lot of things, but there are certain helps in making some of these crafts to have a real finished look. Very good. So what is there anything else about making this kind of a book that we were just looking at, journal, we'll call it a journal, anything you want to say about that? How, when you make it, you know, what's part of the process for you that maybe is gratifying?
Well, to me, just collecting the pieces and the preparation is as gratifying as putting it together.
I think that's often true. The process almost, and I've talked about that before, that often the process is, for the person making it, is more gratifying than necessarily the end product.
Well, and the thing about the end product that is gratifying to me is giving it away.
I agree with that. And so it's sometimes we want to hurry through something and miss out on really appreciating the process that one goes through to just the collecting. I mean,
it's very relaxing to do something like this.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, thank you very much. I hope everyone enjoyed seeing these projects, and we'll be getting more from Donna. She's got a few more secrets in her tool belt, and I'm going to get her to share those. So thanks for joining us.